Hello, and welcome to this week's Profit Maximizer Moment. This show is dedicated to helping business owners dramatically improve their bottom line with our weekly profit maximizing tips that you can use now. I'm your host and coach, Wayne Belial, also the founder of a local CPA firm that works with business owners to help them make more money and keep more of it from the IRS. I do that with our profit coaching programs and our tax planning systems, which we are in the middle of tax planning time, where we're saving our clients tens of thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars, all legally, like I say every week, because I may love my clients, but I don't love them enough to share a jail cell with them. We talked about cash flow. We've been talking about how to improve it. We're going to stay on that theme and talk about 3 steps to collecting receivables. See, when I was first hired as the CFO at Magnolia Coca-Cola, one of my first duties was to put together a policy for collecting receivables. After 3 months of work, I had reduced our past due receivables by well over 75%. I wrote a policy, trained the receivables clerk on the procedure, turned it over to them, and moved on to my next problem. A few months later, the list of past due receivables was almost back to where it was when I started. So I repeated everything I did the first time, but this time I turned it over to my assistant, another CPA. A few months later, the problem was back again. The third time I fixed it, it stayed fixed. Why? I kept receivables as one of my main duties. That is the most important key. If you are the owner of the business or the CEO of the business, whoever's in charge of the business, receivables collection has to be a priority. Okay. So, step one is what I just said. You have to make it a priority. Make sure everyone on your staff and all of your customers know how seriously you take this. The first step is to set aside at least 1 hour every week to meet with your staff and work on collecting your receivables. Unless you do what we talked about earlier and eliminate them. Anyway, step two, establish a system for collecting past due receivables and automate as much of it as possible. This is the system I use there. We sat down with the bookkeeper every 2 weeks. I know I said weekly, but I did it every 2 weeks because we had it under control. When you first get going, every week is what you want. And review a listing of past due accounts receivable and create and send a series of 3 letters to slow pays. The first letter should ask for payment and give about 20 days to pay. The second letter, which is sent after 20 days, should be a threat to turn them over to an attorney for collection if they didn't pay in the first 10 days. Third letter goes out after 10 days and give them 48 hours to pay before their account is turned over to collection. If they still don't pay, turn them over to his attorneys and forget about it. Now that's for some of them. You're going to make exceptions for a few. And that's really step three, is decide which customers the owner will call personally to collect receivables. Sorry, something caught my attention. Owner calls are a vital part of the collection process, or the CEO or whoever's in charge is a vital part of the collection process. All right. Who I decide to call came down to I will call any of our top customers who's past due. I treat the first call not as a collection call, but as a fact-finding mission where I assume that either they didn't get the invoice or that there was a problem with the product or service. Because believe it or not, more often than not, that's why you're not getting paid by your best customers. Service issues are often a cause of past due payments from your best customers. So, like I just said, so get involved early and save the customer, not just collect the receivable. You might want to write off the receivable to save the customer. All right. Um, Next thing, about a week after the first letter is sent out, I have one of my employees call to make sure the company's received the invoice and then find out when payment will be made. That's if they tell me they hadn't received the invoice. Nowadays, I would do it faster because I would just email it to them and probably call them the next day or that day or text them and say, hey, did you receive it? The owner should call every customer who received the second letter or truthfully, I say, if you do it by email, whoever received it, and try to make arrangements to collect the receivable. Make sure you are talking to the decision maker, all right? Someone who has the authority to pay the account. If there is a large number of calls to make, I assign the smaller accounts to the assistant. Be sure they report back on how the call went. Finally, every customer received the 48-hour letter should get a last chance call where you negotiate a settlement. Receiving any amount is better than receiving nothing. Take post-dated checks, credit card information that you're going to do anything but their firstborn child. I have one of those. That's not a good trade. It's going to cost you more. There really is no trick to collecting receivables other than you have to understand it is not a sale until the money is in the bank. So make it a priority to have a system that is consistent, that you do every week, and as painless as possible. So, outsource as much as you can, but do not put it in the back burner, because it's one of the failure to collect receivables is one of the biggest reasons for companies to have problems with cash flow. All right, until next time, this is Wayne Blau saying let's make this our most profitable year ever, and God bless. Getting ready for Christmas. It was 2 weeks from yesterday. I'll still do one next week. I won't do one probably the 2 weeks after. So, hey, have a great day. Have a great weekend. God bless, and I'll see you at church. Thank you.